The email was meant for a vice president. Instead, it came to me. Attached was the final client presentation I had spent 4 months building. The title page had been changed. My name was gone. My manager's name was in its place. And because he sent the evidence to the one person who could expose him, he gave me exactly what I needed. Call me Marcus. His name was David. By the following Tuesday, David no longer worked at the firm. He did not lose his job because I shouted. He lost it because I kept the record. This is the ledger. Everything gets recorded. Every balance gets settled. I had been at the company for 3 years. It was a logistics consultancy, the kind of firm where the work is unglamorous, the hours are long, and the credit tends to travel upward. David had been there for 17 years. He knew the clients, the senior partners, and exactly how much of someone else's work he could claim without making the theft look obvious. At first, it was small. I would build a slide deck for a meeting with the vice president. David would change the cover, present it alone, and describe the analysis as something his team had developed. I would raise an idea on Monday. He would dismiss it. Then, a week later, he would present the same idea to senior leadership as his own. The first time, I called it office politics. The second time, I started saving the evidence. Not secret recordings, not confidential files. Just the ordinary record the company already created. Dated emails, task assignments, meeting notes, comments, and version histories. I kept everything inside the approved company systems. I did not know when I would need it. I just knew that memory becomes an argument. A record does not. Then, in January, the firm began pursuing a major retail chain that wanted to rebuild its supply chain across 6 markets. It was the largest opportunity our team had seen in years. The vice president told me that if the proposal landed, it would be the strongest case yet for moving me into a senior strategist role. So I treated the project like an audition. For 4 months, I built the financial model, ran the projections, interviewed the client's regional teams, and turned their conflicting requirements into one plan. Then I wrote the strategy document, 84 pages, every chart, every recommendation, every risk scenario. Each Friday, I sent David a status summary with links to the latest drafts. Most weeks he replied with 2 words, "Looks good." He attended the kickoff meeting and 1 internal review. 2 meetings. But as the client presentation approached, David became unusually interested in the title page. The presentation was scheduled for Friday morning. On Wednesday at 7:42, I received an email from David. It was meant for the Vice President of Client Services. David had selected my address because the Vice President and I shared the same first initial. The subject line read, "Revised cover, final version before Friday." Attached was the presentation. My presentation. The message said David had tightened the language, adjusted the cover, and was ready to lead the client through the recommendation. I opened the file. Where the title page had previously said, Lead Strategist, Marcus K., it now said, Project Lead, David H. My name appeared nowhere, not in the acknowledgments, not in the project team, not even on the title page, 84 pages of my work, and not a single mention. I read the email twice. Then I closed my laptop, made a coffee, and came back 10 minutes later. I did 3 things. First, I preserved the original email and attachment exactly as they had arrived. Second, I collected the version history, task assignments, approval notes, and weekly status messages I was authorized to access. Third, I contacted a lawyer in our internal legal team and asked which approved reporting channel I should use for suspected misrepresentation and possible retaliation. Nothing left the company. I did not access anything outside my role. I did not reply to David. I did not confront him. I simply prepared the record. I met the lawyer for lunch on Thursday. I laid out the documents in order. The original proposal with my name on it. The version history showing months of work under my account. The weekly updates David had acknowledged. The altered cover, the mistaken email. And the smaller incidents I had documented over the previous 2 years. The lawyer read everything, then asked 2 questions. Had David ever told me in writing, That he would present the work as his own? No. Had I ever agreed to remove my name? No. The lawyer told me to send the complete record to Human Resources and copy the Chief People Officer before the client presentation. The point was not to embarrass David. The point was to stop a false account of authorship from being presented as fact. I sent the report at 9:14 that night. The next morning, Human Resources confirmed that the report had been received and instructed me not to discuss it with David. At 8:32, David messaged me. He wanted me in the conference room early to handle technical questions. He would open the meeting, explain the strategy, and take the lead with the client. I replied with one word: understood. At 8:53, while David was connecting his laptop, the Chief People Officer and the HR Director entered the room. They asked him to step outside. The client had not joined yet. David did not return. The Vice President looked at me, looked at the title slide, and asked whether I was prepared to present. I said yes. The original cover was restored. My name was on it. At 9 o'clock, I presented the work I had built, the model, the risks, the assumptions, and the recommendations. The client asked detailed questions for almost an hour. I answered everyone. They signed a 2-year contract later that afternoon. But the contract was not what ended David's employment. The review did. David first said he had created the strategy and delegated the analysis to me. The audit trail showed the opposite. Then he said I had agreed to work in a supporting role. There was no email, message, meeting note, or approval that supported that claim. The project system showed that I created the first draft, built the model, and made the tracked revisions. David's weekly replies showed that he had reviewed progress rather than produced it. His calendar showed 2 project meetings. Mine showed 46. Then another employee came forward with a presentation from the previous year. She had written it. David had presented it with her name removed. That changed the case from one disputed project into evidence of a pattern. David was placed on administrative leave that Friday. On Tuesday, after the internal review, the firm terminated his employment for misrepresentation and repeated misconduct. His career at that company came to a quiet end. There was no public argument, no hallway confrontation, no victory speech. The email he sent by mistake had already said enough. The vice president gave me a formal apology. The firm corrected the project record, adjusted my compensation, and credited the client win to the team that had produced the work. 2 months later, I was promoted to senior strategist. I did not get the role because David failed. I got it because the record showed what I had done. I never raised my voice. I never needed to. I kept the ledger. And when the time came, I let the ledger speak. Some people believe the only way to be heard is to speak louder than the person taking credit. Sometimes that is necessary, but evidence has a different kind of weight. A dated email does not forget. A version history does not become nervous. A record does not need to win an argument. It only needs to be complete. I did not end David's career with revenge. David damaged his own career when he changed the name on work he did not create, and then sent the proof to its author. The entry has been recorded. The balance has been settled. This is the ledger. If you have ever watched someone claim work that was not theirs, tell us what happened in the comments. Subscribe for the next entry. New stories every week. Until next time.